Hello everyone, this afternoon on the marketplace, mine workers call for termination of mining lease given future gold resources over what they say is the mismanagement of the Gov't mine. More as the group threatens to demonstrate for a week if government fails to heed their demands.
On a series of actions including demonstrations, and we intend to do so at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and also at the Jubilee House.
Also coming up, International Monetary Fund raises concerns about revenue gap due to suspension of some taxes in the 2024 budget as the visiting mission continues with its second review of Ghana's program. Plus, aggrieved customers of defunct Gold Coast Fund Management gave government 3 months to release their locked-up funds. They threatened to campaign against the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, if nothing is done about their plight.
30th, 2024. We do not see our payment. We are a very organized group and we are going to position ourselves as a solid political body to campaign against Dr. Bawumia and the NPP.
My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for joining us. Details coming up. Well, first up, the Ghana Mine Workers Union has threatened to embark on a week's demonstration beginning the 15th of April at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources as well as the Flagstaff House if government fails to terminate the mining lease given future gold resources to operate the Gov't mine. According to the union, the stalled mining has affected the economic livelihoods of over 1,000 direct and indirect workers due to the lack of funds to keep the firm running. Here's General Secretary of the union, Abdul Mumin Bana.
The minister must ensure that the mining lease is terminated or cancelled in accordance with law, so that prospective investors can be brought in as soon as possible. The livelihoods, like I said, of our members are in a state of a limbo now. As I speak to you, children cannot go to school because incomes have been truncated. They cannot pay school fees. Even medical bills are becoming an issue for our members. And for that matter, this is an issue that requires immediate agency. It's a matter that must be prioritized by the government, and in this case, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, to ensure that the Gov't mine resumes work with immediate effect. And so the union is demanding the minister to do the needful with immediate effect. The union is also proceeding to serve notice in accordance with Article 21, 1D of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, to embark on a series of actions including demonstrations. And we intend to do so at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and also at the Jubilee House. We shall embark on demonstrations at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and it's not just going to be a day's demonstration. We're going to embark on a series of demonstrations that will last 72 hours at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. We shall proceed to demonstrate at the Jubilee House, the seat of the presidency, because we believe that public officers must act in accordance with the requirements of law. The citizens of this republic require their attention, require their leadership. And so we will not tolerate the current posturing of the minister. He must proceed and he must act now.
Well, next, the International Monetary Fund has expressed concern about how the government is going to address the revenue gap due to the suspension of some taxes in the 2024 budget, including the value-added tax on electricity. This is one of the major issues that have come up strongly during the second review of the fund support program by the visiting mission. The visit is expected to end this Friday. Here's George Jaffe with more.
The second IMF review over how Ghana has fared under the fund program is primarily focusing on the fiscal and monetary data ending December 2023. However, the fund is also doing some assessment on what some will call the forward-looking data, when it comes to how the economy has performed in the first quarter of this year, as well as the outlook for 2024. It is for this review that has highlighted an important concern about how government is going to manage the hole that has come up as a result of not going ahead with some tax measures announced in the 2024 budget. The IMF is worried about how that could impact on the whole revenue situation by the end of this year and its impact on the budget deficit. It is for this that has occasioned that red flag, with the IMF is seeking to get some answers from government on the way forward. So for some, Ghana will pass the second review. But for some, the end-of-year revenue situation is a major concern for the IMF. The IMF review mission will end this Friday. The staff will then take its report to Washington, D.C., USA, and possibly go to its board in June this year. If Ghana passes this assessment, that would lead to the release of some $360 million to support the 2024 budget. This could bring the total amount of funds secured from the IMF since Ghana got the program in May last year to more than $1.5 billion.
Well, joining me on Zoom to discuss this is tax analyst Francis Timore. Good afternoon to you. Thanks so much for joining us. So when the government had to reverse the suspension of the price stabilization and recovery levy, we knew it was because the IMF team was in town and our big brother wouldn't have any of that. And so the government had to do an about-turn on that move. Talk to us. What is your assessment? Now we're hearing that the government, the IMF is raising concerns about the revenue gap. What's your assessment of government's quest to raise more revenue? Do you think that it has failed in doing that?
Daryl, I think that for the period up to December, for which the IMF is doing the review, we should be able to pass the test, because I think if you look at the compliance measures that the GRA put in place to the year December, we can confidently say that we should be able to achieve the revenue target which was set. What I think should be a bit concerned will be going forward and maybe Q1 2024. However, I think that if we attribute everything to the suspension of some of the tax measures, then it won't be fair, because you look at the electricity, VAT on electricity. I think that Labour sent a very good signal that that is not a very good place to go. So, give or take, we should be able to pass the December review, and then we look forward for the full implementation of the other taxes like the gaming, the emission tax, and all those things, which have not taken full effect in 2024.
So why would it be then that the IMF would raise concerns about the revenue gap?
I think they're looking at going forward, and their focus mainly is on VAT, which has been on the books for a very long time, VAT on electricity. You remember this particular provision has been on the books since 1998, all the way to 2013, when the VAT laws indicated that if you consume above the lifeline, you should pay VAT. However, we have also realized that with this automatic adjustment of the tariff and all those changes coming up quarterly, Labour put it forward that if you implement some of these measures on essential commodities like VAT, electricity, then you're going to cause a lot of trouble. And Daryl, you notice that we are currently facing power crisis. So I don't think that it's a very good place for government to, put our blames on that, because we didn't implement VAT on electricity. That's why we are not achieving the revenue target. We should maybe give a little time, because most of the tax laws were passed just this December 2023. They are yet to take full effect. And I believe that with the progress being made so far, we should be able to raise the needed revenue if we continue with the compliance measures that the GRA has put in place.
So you don't think that the government chickened out too early on the VAT on electricity, for example?
No, I think that the VAT on electricity should not be even on the table, because, look, you are in a power crisis and you are thinking of going to increase the price of electricity. Again, the automatic adjustment has already taken care of most of the things that consumers are bearing. So I don't think it should be on the table at all. We should rather be focusing on the tax measures that has been passed, and then see how we can enforce compliance rather than going back to the discussion on electricity. Assuming government wants to even go there, I think that maybe we have to go back to Parliament and say, well, we want to save the power sector, and therefore we should come up with some minimum rates, maybe 5%, 2% on electricity, flat rate, rather than the 22% that government wants to impose on electricity consumption.
All right. Well, I guess the challenge for the government and looking into the future is how to raise enough revenue from taxes as well as manage the expectations of individuals and businesses. That, I guess, is a tough challenge for government, especially this year when we are in an election year.
Certainly, it's a tough challenge, and I'm happy that IMF is in town to check on the expenditure control, which is something that we always allow to slip through. So it's a good thing that we're able to check us to ensure that we spend within our means. That is also good. I'm also expecting the GRA to also roll out the full implementation of the taxes that were passed. The emission has not been done. We're also expecting the expansion of the communication service tax. In all, if you look at the 2024 revenue measures, that alone is going to bring about 1% of GDP. Give or take, we shouldn't expect some new taxes in the mid-year budget because this is an election year and business is already crying. But if by mid-year we are not getting anywhere near, possibly the new Minister of Finance may attempt to introduce some new taxes. And a typical area that they can look at is maybe the natural resources. Maybe they will want to go and revise the royalty rate and all those taxes that are paid in the natural resource sector, especially because many countries are now arguing that, look, people are arguing for a sustainable environment, and therefore if you have natural resources like oil and gas, you should tax them heavier than now. So we should expect something in the mid-year budget.
Right, and what sort of innovative measures can the government come up with that will resonate with the people in the lead up to the elections as we try to narrow the gap when it comes to revenue?
I think political parties should be measured in their promises and expectations so that we don't promise what we can't deliver. And again, we expect the GRA compliance measures to be more enhanced, and so businesses should be prepared. We shouldn't introduce new taxes at this moment, especially if it is in the form of indirect taxes. Rather, let's focus on the compliance measure, the existing one. It's easier enforcing the existing taxes rather than bringing new taxes. So if we're able to enforce the new one, the existing ones, and I think that we should be able to achieve the needed revenue that we need as projected in the budget.
So, I mean, if you're in the shoes of the government and you're facing the IMF team, what would you tell them about this challenge?
Let's focus on compliance. Look, businesses are feeling the brunt. Any new tax, in fact, if you look at even the space, fiscal space is almost exhausted. Let's focus on the new ones: e-commerce, property taxes, those that we have not been paying attention to, the informal sector. Let's now come up with proper policies to address those sectors and collect the existing taxes rather than bringing new ones.
All right, Francis Timore, boy, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your perspective and your insights as well. You're watching The Marketplace. Now, interest rates continued its downward trend for the 14th consecutive week in 2024. Nonetheless, the government failed to achieve its Treasury bills target for the second successive time this year. The government is reducing its appetite for borrowing on the Treasury market as a result of the influence from the World Bank and its donor partners. Here to give us an update on the financial markets, Head of Trading at Republic Securities, Patrick Edam Agama. Good afternoon to you, Patrick. So, and it's good to see you. It's been a while. What's the rundown from last Friday's auction?
Well, we noticed that on the money market, the government raised a total of 2.56 billion, accepting all the bids against a target of 2.8 billion. And this figure is insufficient to cover the maturing bills of 2.636 billion Ghana cedis. Now, what we are seeing is that there was decrease in all the bills. We saw the 91-day dropping by 1.72 basis points to clear at 25.73%. The 182-day cleared at 28.23%, decreasing by 2.14 basis points. And then we saw the 364-day bill also decreasing by 1.17 basis point to clear at 28.84%. What we've also seen is that this is in line with the pricing guidance, but this is a massive deviation of the average of 24 basis point dip we've been seeing every week.
All right, and well, even though the government failed to meet its target last week, we're taking a look at the first quarter numbers, and it appears that the government exceeded its T-bills target by 24%, and interest rates took a tumble of over 3.6%. Tell us about the performance on the treasury market and the outlook for the next quarter, or this quarter, if you like.
Yeah, so what we've seen is that this excess is supposed to cushion government going forward, because, you know, with the new directive of the cash reserve ratio, we expect some liquidity drying up in the treasury market. And if this continues, government is supposed to rely on some of these excesses that they got in the first quarter. We also expect interest rates, you know, if you look at the dip we've seen this week and that of that week, it's not that significant. So there is also a risk of interest rate trending upwards again, depending on how inflation also comes in. We are already seeing that there is a rise in fuel price and all the other stuff. So this is some risks we need to be cautious of going forward.
We are turning next to the stock market. We are taking a look at the banking stocks, Patrick. Access Bank, the share price for Access Bank is expected to see some appreciation this week. What's happening there?
Well, there's a surge in demand for that stock. We are also seeing on the flip side, we've seen a dip in Bank shares. That's also for the banking sector. We are also seeing a demand for Standard Chartered and other banks also going up, including Societe. That's also been going up lately. We saw the rise in GCB last week, jumping by 9.62% in value to clear at 3.76. That is picking up because, you know, the banking stocks have been down for some time now, and investors are beginning to look at them now that the debt exchange is actually dying down bit by bit.
But Republic Bank, according to pundits, would record some losses as well. Can you explain what's happening there as well?
Well, it's debatable. There have been offers on the market, and there have been bids on the market for Republic Bank. So looking at the bank that has no need to recapitalize in the near future and has posted some impressive reports. It's only the forces between the demand and supply that will determine the way forward for this stock.
Yeah, sorry, I'll put you in a difficult position. I just realized that, Patrick. Anyway, before we go, so what's your advice for our audience? What's there to look at this week as well in terms of investments?
Well, in terms of investments, we should still look at going mostly for the short-term securities. That's if they are looking towards the fixed income side. But for equities, we can take advantage of the right issues that are coming up for the, we have Bank right issue coming up, and you have the chance to either exercise these rights. That's if you're already a Bank shareholder, or you have the chance to buy the rights from the market and exercise and also become a Bank shareholder. So these are some of the opportunities we should look at going forward.
Patrick, Agama, thank you so much for speaking with us. Great to see you. We'll speak sometime soon. I appreciate your time. You're watching The Marketplace. Now, hundreds of aggrieved customers of Gold Coast Fund Management who have their investments locked up due to the government's revocation of their company's license are demanding payment. They say if government fails to refund their monies, the group will campaign against Vice President Dr. Bawumia in the upcoming elections. Here's more in this report.
Former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta supervised a banking sector cleanup from mid-2017 to January 2020 in a bid to restore confidence in the banking and specialized deposit-taking sector. The government said the action was one of the contributory factors for the country's high debt stock. The The cleanup saw a reduction in the number of banks from 34 to 23, whilst 347 microfinance institutions, 15 savings and loans, and 8 finance houses had their license revoked. Gold Coast Fund Management is one of the financial companies that was affected by the exercise. This has resulted in the funds of customers being locked up for over 6 years. The affected customers are decrying that the effects of their locked up funds have left them in dire psychological and medical conditions.
Majuma mi wo mama yi medi mitifie me yale sesia me ni yeti me kwa yesa juru mi ni sika me so le de medi mpo nwa ya den.
Look, you see my eye? I'm infirmity. I have glaucoma. Every month I buy drugs worth 500 Ghana cedis. And still I don't have money to do it. How do I survive? Do you want me to die? Government, do you want me to die? Wow, I have money.
You mean declaring, and you're ready now, Dumua, Uncle Deba to me, and to me, Kassa, someone just can have my year, abandon about 20.
Convener of aggrieved customers of Gold Coast Fund Management, Charles Nyame, says efforts to wrest the issue and get repayment for faulted customers have proven unsuccessful.
The only authorities that we are in touch with is the House of Parliament. We petitioned them. We were called. The Finance Ministry were also invited, and as well as the Securities and Exchange Commission. They have they've ended the public hearing. They are yet to come out with their reports and recommendations. But apart from that, people are still dying. As we wait for the report, people are still dying. People go to bed with empty stomach every day. People's educational hope is still hanging to attend universities because the very money their parents set aside for their future education is locked up for 6 years.
Leaders of the group are giving the government and financial authorities a 3-month ultimatum or face their collective vote power against the current governing New Patriotic Party.
The point we are making is we are tired. We are not going to do, I beg you, Dr. Baumi, I beg you, Ekufuado, I beg you, Kenofu. We are not going to do that any longer. We are not begging them. We are telling them our stand, our stand. That is, if by June 30th, 2024, we do not see our payment, we are a very organized group and we are going to position ourselves as a solid political body to campaign against Dr. Baumia and the NPP. Ashanti region alone, we have 10,000 of our members in Ashanti region.
Now, Ghana has a weak entrepreneurial ecosystem that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. That's according to a Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. Stephen Amwa. He explains that the country needs resilient entrepreneurs whose businesses can withstand external shocks. Dr. Amwa, however, said government is working to create a more conducive environment for businesses to operate for more jobs. He was speaking at the 2024 Ghana Business and Innovation Awards.
Emerged as one of the most robust and developed startup ecosystem on the continent. Meanwhile, Deputy Finance Minister Dr. Stephen Amwa said there's the need for more investment within the entrepreneurial space.
We can only build a vibrant, modern nation if we have strong systems and institutions that work. Otherwise, we will be stuck in a vicious cycle of underdevelopment. We are of the belief that creating the regulatory, innovative, and competitive environment will motivate indigenous Ghanaian companies and entrepreneurs to add more value to what they are already manufacturing, to make their products and services competitive to go beyond the boundaries of Ghana. I would like to say that we have actually very weak entrepreneurial ecosystems. Although Ghana is really doing well on the continent of Africa and even in the world, we still have a lot to do as a country.
The Ghana Business and Innovation Awards 2024 offered a unique opportunity to showcase the best businesses, leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators in Ghana. The awards recognize the achievements of all kinds of businesses, large and small, across different sectors and across the whole of the country, with an annual award scheme designed to reward the very best in the Ghanaian business landscape.
All right, and that's our program this afternoon. Thanks for watching, everyone. We want to give you a rundown of what's trending on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Government exceeds T-bills target in Q1 by 24%. Interest rates tumbled by 3.6%. Also, almost all indicators were worse in 2023 than what you inherited in 2016. IEA to government, myjoyonline.com/business. We will leave you with today's episode of Money Lab.
Hello, welcome to Money Lab. My name is Isaac Edu, Head of Broker Relations at Enterprise Insurance. In the last episode, we discussed engineering insurances. Today, we are looking at marine insurance. Marine insurance covers the risks and liabilities associated with the marine transportation of goods and the vessels carrying the goods. It covers losses such as theft, natural disasters, and fire that may occur during the course of the shipment. Marine insurance can either be on the goods called cargo insurance or on the vessel called hull insurance. It is suitable for ship owners and marine transporters. Thank you for listening to us in this series of insurance. Thank you.